So you do everything that she asks. You show up, you smile, you say the right things, and you tell yourself this is for love. Only it doesn't feel like love. It feels more like obligation, more like pressure. It feels like if you stopped performing, the whole thing would collapse. And maybe deep down, you hate her for it. But even deeper down, you hate yourself. Because here's the truth. Resentment, it doesn't grow because someone else demands too much. It grows because we give it what we really don't mean to. It grows because we betray ourselves and we call that kindness. And it's not kindness, it's fear. The fear of not being enough. The fear of being abandoned. The fear of being seen for who you are and rejected anyway. See, this is where resentment is born. Not in the demands that others make, but in the silence where our truth dies. But here's the lie behind the pleasing. See, the pleasing looks like love on the surface. It looks like devotion and generosity and sacrifice. It looks like care, but it's not love if it's rooted in fear. It's not generosity if it's rooted in insecurity. Love is voluntary. Love is a choice. Love comes from fullness, not desperation. But when you please her to secure her affection, to keep her from leaving, you're not loving her. You're actually bargaining with her. You're in essence saying, if I make you happy enough, then you'll stay. If I hide my needs, then you'll love me. Or if I become who you want me to be, you'll finally see me. But here's a cruel twist. Even if she stays, even if she smiles, even if she says she loves you, the thing is you don't believe it. Because deep down, you know she's loving the version of you that you're pretending to be. And that's why resentment truly grows. Resentment isn't anger at her. Resentment is grief for the parts of yourself that you've locked away, all for this illusion of love. You see, freedom, it doesn't come from being loved for a lie. Freedom actually comes from being loved, or not, for the truth of who you truly are. So a quick story about this guy who couldn't say no that I remember. I worked with him once, and I'm gonna call him Daniel, okay? Let's call him Daniel. Daniel prided himself on being the perfect partner. He never raised his voice. He always said yes. He picked restaurants that she liked. He watched shows that she chose, and he agreed to the plans that he really hated, all with a strained smile. Now on the outside, he was the dream. He was agreeable, he was accommodating, he was pleasant, but in the quiet moments, he felt it, a deep and simmering sort of an anger, not just at her, but at himself for disappearing, for becoming invisible in his own relationship, for, in essence, betraying himself. And the more that he pleased, the more that she expected, right? The more he gave, the less she seemed to respect him. Until one day she said that the words that shattered him, "I don't even know who you are anymore." And she left. And Daniel was devastated, not just because he lost her, but because he realized he never really showed up. He was rejected, not for who he was, but for who he was pretending to be while with her. Now there's a cost of self-abandonment in this whole thing. See, when you please at the expense of yourself, you're losing more than just respect. You're losing yourself. You lose the ability to say, I want, or I need, or I feel. You're losing the right to your own life. And over time, you become a shell, smiling on the outside, but seething on the inside. You see, self-abandonment, it feels safe in the moment. It avoids conflict. It earns approval. It keeps the peace. but it's a counterfeit kind of a peace that's thin and brittle and temporary. And it always collapses under the weight of unmet needs and unspoken truths. You can only suppress yourself for so long before the dam breaks. And when it does, it's not pretty, it's not controlled, it's not kind. It's rage, it's contempt. It's a lifetime of swallowed no's all bursting out at once. See, we talk a lot about the fear of conflict, but what about the fear of living life so small and so carefully curated that you're never actually really known? What about the fear of disappearing inside your own skin? Freedom from fear doesn't really begin with fighting others. It begins with the courage to stop fighting yourself. Now, there's a real risk here, and that is that you will be seen. See, the alternative to pleasing is terrifying. It's standing there, unhidden, and saying, no, I don't want that. Or, no, I don't agree. Or, no, that doesn't work for me. See, the alternative is risking her disappointment, or risking her anger, or risking her leaving. But it's also risking something else, and that is risking the chance at experiencing true love. Because love without truth is not love, it's performance. Love without boundaries isn't love, that's servitude. And love without integrity isn't love as well, that's self-erasing yourself. See, when you finally stand there, like real, imperfect, unhidden, you stop performing and you start living. And this is the beginning of freedom. Let me tell you another story. This one has a bit of a breakthrough in it. There is this other guy, I'm going to call him Mateo. Mateo was a chronic people pleaser, not just in relationships, but everywhere. His breakthrough, it didn't come in some grand and cinematic moment. It came in something small and quiet. See, one night, his girlfriend, she wanted to go out, but he was exhausted. And the old Mateo would have said, okay. He would have forced a smile and silently fumed all night. But that night, something different happened for him. He paused, and then he swallowed. He swallowed that automatic yes that just wanted to pop out, and he said, I'm tired, and I don't want to go out tonight. There was a silence, the kind that makes your heart sort of pound in anticipation. And then she said, okay. Mateo didn't lose her, and she didn't leave. She didn't scream. She just respected his response and respected him. It was one of the first real moments between the two of them. One of the first moments that he chose integrity over fear. One of those first moments that he tasted, in essence, his freedom. But why we really do it? I don't think we people please because we're kind. We don't self-abandon because we're generous. I think we do it because we're afraid. We're afraid that we're not enough as we are. We're afraid that love is conditional, that it has to be earned or bartered for or performed into existence. Afraid that if we show up as we really are, tired and flawed and needy and complex, that we'll be rejected, abandoned, or forgotten. It's not the weakness that makes us hide, it's the fear. It's the fear. See, fear is the architect of the false self, if you will. But here's the paradox. The very thing that you're fearing, maybe losing her, becomes inevitable if you keep hiding. Because she can't love the real you if you never actually show her the real you. And even if she says she'll stay, what good is it if she's only seen the mask that you're keeping on? Eventually she's going to feel it. She'll feel the hollowness, the resentment, the absence of intimacy. She wouldn't know why perhaps, but she'll feel that distance. And so will you. See, we think fear protects us, But in essence, fear really isolates us, even from the people that we're trying desperately to keep close with. And freedom from fear is not about becoming fearless. It's about becoming honest. Honest enough to say, this is who I am. This is what I need. This is what I can give. And this is what I can't. And here's what freedom actually looks like. Freedom isn't loud. It doesn't always look like grand gestures or brave declarations. Sometimes it's like a quiet no, a gentle boundary, a choice to rest instead of to perform. Freedom looks like telling the truth when it would be easier to tell a lie. It looks like risking the relationship in order to save your soul. It looks like living in alignment with your integrity, even when it's terrifying. Imagine for a moment with me, what would it feel like to wake up and know that people who love you loved you? Not the edited and polished version of you, not the agreeable version, but the real you. What would it feel like to stop scanning every room for approval? Or to stop tiptoeing around disappointment? Or to live inside your own skin without any apology? This is what's possible when you start choosing truth over fear. When you stop pleasing and instead start living. This is the heart of real intimacy. Not being agreeable, but being known. Not being liked, but being loved. It means choosing integrity over approval. See, integrity is scary. It requires you to stand alone. And it asks you to risk rejection in order to stay true to you. But it also frees you as well. It frees you from exhausting tightropes that you're walking of pleasing. It frees you from the corrosive acid of resentment. It frees you to be loved, truly and fully loved, or not at all. And here's the irony. When you live with integrity, you lose people. You'll lose people, but you'll find yourself. And the relationship that remains, or that comes back into your life later, will be deeper and richer and more real, because love that's built on performance, it collapses. But love that's built on truth endures long term. It doesn't even mean you'll never experience fear, but you'll stop letting that fear drive your decisions. You'll move from fear-based living to freedom-based living, from self-abandonment to self-respect, from that hollow approval of others to real intimacy with yourself. That's the promise and the invitation. And if that sounds impossible, it's not. It's already happening for men who decided that they were done living small, scared, and hidden lives. It's already happening for men who are daring to believe that freedom is worth the risk. Remember this story, and let me tell you about it. I'm gonna name this guy Jordan. Yeah, Jordan was in a relationship where he bent endlessly. Every plan revolved around her preferences. Every conversation was a careful negotiation. How little of himself could he reveal and still keep her happy? So he thought it was working until it wasn't. See, one night, after years of quiet resentment, Jordan sat across from her and realized that he didn't recognize himself anymore. He wasn't a man in love, he was a man in hiding. And in that moment, he did the bravest thing he'd ever done. He told the truth. He said, I don't want this anymore. Not like this. I can't be who you need me to be. Not without losing who I am. She didn't fight. She didn't beg. She nodded. And Jordan walked away. Not because he stopped caring about her, because he started caring about himself. It was the loneliest and freest thing he'd ever felt. And in the months that followed, he didn't just have peace and find it. He actually found himself. There's a hidden cost of pleasing, isn't there? This is something that no one usually tells you about being a people pleaser. You see, you're not just lying to them, but you're also lying to yourself. You're telling yourself it's kindness. You're telling yourself this is love, for love. You're telling yourself this is strength. But it's none of those things. It's fear wearing a mask. And fear that's left unchecked will cost you everything. It'll cost you your peace, your dignity, your freedom. And if you keep living for approval, you'll wake up one day surrounded by people who like the version of you that you've shown them, but you'll feel utterly alone. Because deep down, you'll know they don't know you. And worse, you don't know you either. But there's a quiet revolution in choosing yourself. Let me tell you about it. See, choosing yourself is not loud. It's not selfish or arrogant or cruel. It's quiet. It's this quiet revolution that changes everything in your experience and perception. It looks like your life and asks, where have you abandoned yourself in the name of being loved? And then daring quietly and steadily to stop that. It's learning to sit with the discomfort of disappointing others. It's learning to survive the tremble in your hands when you're saying, I can't do that, or I don't agree, or I need more. It's standing your ground, not because you want to fight, but because you finally value your peace. See, the men who live trapped in resentment aren't bad men. They're just men who are afraid that if they don't bend, that they'll break. But what if bending is what's breaking you? What if the only way to stay whole, or to stay human, or to stay free is to stop folding yourself smaller and smaller until you disappear? See, the fear beneath the fear is this. When you peel back those layers of resentment, here's what you may find. You'll find fear. Fear of being seen. Fear of not being enough. Fear of being abandoned. Fear of being misunderstood. The fear of being replaced. These are not small fears. These are primal. And they go deep. And the truth is, you don't overcome fear by ignoring it. You overcome fear by facing it, by naming it, by refusing to let it dictate your life anymore. You don't have to be fearless to be free. You just have to stop letting fear make all your choices for you. See, freedom is like a muscle. Freedom isn't a one-time decision. It's this thing that you develop over time, like you would going to the gym. You build it one honest conversation at a time, one boundary implemented at a time, one act of self-respect at a time that is expressed. It will shake, it will ache, it will want you to go back to the old way, the pleasing way, because that was easier. But every time you choose integrity over approval, you get stronger. Every time you choose truth over fear, you're reclaiming a piece of yourself. And over time, these pieces will begin to knit together into a man who is whole, not perfect, but real. Maybe not fearless, but free. And here's what freedom feels like. It doesn't feel like fireworks, but it feels like you're able to exhale. It feels like coming home. It feels like waking up without the gnawing anxiety of who you have to be today to be loved. It feels like sitting across from someone and knowing that even if they don't choose you, you haven't betrayed yourself at all. It feels like respect for yourself and from others. It feels like peace, but not the fragile kind of peace, not the one that's looking for approval, but the steady of peace of self-trust. Freedom feels like knowing that you are not for everyone. And that's not a tragedy, that's actually a gift. Because the people who love the real you, the ones who see you, and know you and choose you. Those are worth 1,000 of the ones who loved and were drawn to the mask. Oh, let me tell you about this other story. I'm going to call this guy Marcus. Coming up with these names, mind you. Marcus, he spent years saying yes to everyone and everything. And he thought it made him a good friend, a good boyfriend, a good man. But it also made him exhausted and bitter and invisible. One day, he got a call from a friend asking him to help move again. And this was on the only day that he had to himself after a brutal month he had at work. So the old Marcus would have said, yes, sure, automatically, out of obligation and out of fear. But this time he paused and he breathed and he said, I'm really sorry, bro. I can't. I need that day for myself. And his friend was surprised and even a little hurt. But Marcus, he didn't crumble. He stayed. He stayed present and grounded. And it wasn't a grand moment. No angels were singing. No audience was applauding. But inside, something shifted for him in that moment. It was his first real yes to himself. And over time, as Marcus kept choosing honesty over fear, his life started to transform. Some of his friends did drift away, yes, but others drew closer. But most importantly, Marcus drew closer to himself, which is a beautiful thing to watch. But there's freedom from fear, which is possible. See, I'm not here to sell you a fantasy. I'm not here to promise you that choosing integrity will always feel good. It won't. I'm just going to be upfront with you. Sometimes it will feel like a loss. Sometimes it will feel like loneliness. Sometimes it will feel like walking through fire. But on the other side of that fire is freedom. Not freedom from consequences, but freedom from the prison of fear. And that is the kind of freedom that changes everything. The kind of freedom that we're talking about in an upcoming opportunity where I'm going to be diving deeper into what it means to live unshackled from fear and to live from a place of wholeness and not hiding, to stop performing and to start living. So more on that soon. I'm excited to tell you about it, but soon. But for now, just know this. Freedom from fear isn't just a dream. It's a skill. It's a practice. It's a life waiting for you to choose it. Now, my invitation to go from fear to freedom. I want you to imagine something with me for a moment, okay? Imagine you're looking in the mirror and you're seeing in front of you a man that you recognize, a man that you respect. Not because he's perfect, and not because he's fearless, but because he's honest. He chooses to be honest. Imagine standing in a relationship and knowing that you don't have to perform, that you don't have to bend, you don't have to disappear to be loved. Imagine feeling the fear that's rising in your chest, the old fear of rejection, of disappointment, of abandonment, but still choosing to stay true anyway. That's what freedom from fear looks like. Not the absence of fear, but the refusal to be ruled by fear. It's what you were made for. Now, what are you really afraid of? Are you afraid of losing her? Or are you afraid of losing the lie that's been keeping you safe thus far? Are you afraid of being rejected? Or are you afraid of being seen fully, vulnerably, completely? Are you afraid of disappointing others? Or are you afraid of what it might cost you to finally stop disappointing yourself? These are the questions that we have to ask. Not to shame ourselves, but to wake up. Because fear thrives in silence. Fear grows in hiding. But once you name it, once you face it, fear starts to lose its grip. Freedom begins the moment that you stop bargaining with fear and Instead, start living in truth. So, from choosing freedom, one choice at a time, here's what it could look like. You won't break free all at once. You'll break free one incremental decision at a time, one boundary at a time, one honest no that you offer at a time, one brave and courageous yes, one moment of choosing your integrity over yet your approval addiction that you were struggling with. And with every small act of courage, you'll begin to stitch together a life that you're not ashamed of, a life that feels like it's yours, not a performance for someone else's applause. And you'll move from living for others to living with others, from pleasing others to participating with them, from performing to really connecting. Let me tell you about this final story here, about this guy who stayed. See, years ago I met this guy. I'm going to call him Aaron. He lived most of his life in fear. He feared letting anyone down. He feared not being truly known. He feared that if people saw the real him, that they would leave. And so he built a fortress of smiles, of compliance, of invisibility. But one day, Aaron sat across from a woman he loved, and he did something he'd never done before. He stayed. He stayed with the conversation, especially when the conversation got uncomfortable. He stayed when she asked what he really thought, not what she wanted to hear. He stayed when she frowned, and then when she disagreed, and then when she said, "That's not what I expected." And for the first time in a long time, he didn't run. He didn't lie. He didn't fold. He stayed. It was terrifying. It was terrifying but liberating. It was real. And in that moment, Aaron realized something. He realized that fear had kept him safe, but it had also kept him small. It had kept him lonely. It had kept him from the very connection that he craved. See, freedom wasn't about being unafraid. It was about showing up anyway in the midst of his fear. And so Aaron stayed with her and with himself. Now, your story matters. You see, you don't have to be perfect to be free. You just have to be willing to stop hiding. You don't have to erase the fear. You just have to stop letting it erase you. You don't have to figure it out alone. See, in the coming weeks, I'm going to be opening the door a little wider here. There'll be an opportunity to go deeper, to start reclaiming your life from fear, one step at a time, one conversation at a time, one choice at a time. But for now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever caught yourself resenting the very person that you were bending over backwards for, just so that you could please them? Have you ever woken up and realized that the person that you were performing for, they didn't even know the real you? What did it cost you? And what did you learn? I want you to drop your story in the comments below. I would love to hear from you, not just for me, but also for the others who are walking on this road too. Because your honesty could be the bridge that someone else needs to step out of fear and into freedom. So I would love to hear from you. But for now, thank you for watching this video and considering these challenging reflections. I so appreciate you walking alongside me.